him to appear shocked after facing such an attack. On the other side, the Demon Lord is in his garden, and he suddenly feels such a powerful temptation from the pavilion of demonic judgment before. There is no one there, and the Demon Lord wonders what it wants to show him. In the meantime, a flower petal falls to the ground, and it turns into blood. Soon, the whole ground turns into blood, and a black flower emerges from it. The Demon Lord wonders if this means to symbolize some kind of malevolent thought in his mind right now. But soon, he realizes that the flower is not about him, which means it must signify the birth of a new demon. He is growing very quickly. A young man who lost everything while in a coma is already trying to enter the realm of the Supreme Demon. Even if Hajin reduces the intensity of the demon threshold using a heavenly martial art technique, he has still grown unbelievably quickly. He uses his power on the flower while thinking he can create a powerful monster if he chooses to lend him his strength. He gives some of his strength to the flower, and it turns into a powerful demon, and he thinks he will never be disappointed by the third prince from now on. The flower has turned into a huge, monstrous form, and the Demon Lord thinks the third prince is not someone he needs to watch over anymore, and he has grown powerful enough to partner with, much like the 9 great demon lords. However, he is curious to see what happens next since only time will tell if this demon will return alive or be buried by this world and disappear. He wants to see if this third prince really makes it alive from the battle with the Sword Palace. On the other side, when Gangik attacks Hajin, the palace has now been completely destroyed. Gangik is surprised to see that Hajin has blocked his attack, and his sword slips and falls to the ground. The palace is cracking, and Dongpul also shouts for his young master, hoping for his safety. Gangik doesn't understand the technique he just used, as it was the most advanced light step technique, which allows the user to move as fast as lightning, but leaves behind a QI afterimage. Hajin calls Gangik from behind and exclaims that the attacks were too close, and asks him if he is finally going to take him seriously. Gangik is still in a state of shock and tries to attack him again because he never expected him to dodge that attack. Hajin jumps from his place and dodges him this time, too. Not only is it challenging to learn, but it also requires a significant amount of internal energy. While being in mid-air, Hajin is able to attack him and throws a large stone toward him. It strikes near Gangik, but he dodges it too. But he is shocked to see Hajin charging toward him, saying it's his turn now. He throws a powerful attack toward him, causing an explosion, and his subordinates think they need to help him. One of them orders them to stay back and also forbids them from using any wind blade technique to push back the poisonous gases. However, the impact of their fight is causing the soul-shattering toxin to spread there, and if any of the warriors are wounded, they won't be able to fight once they are affected by the poison. The warriors notice that they have made their way inside, but they can't fight recklessly, and if they try to get rid of the poisonous gas, it will only come toward them. But they are worried about Gangik because if he gets injured, it can impact the tide of the battle. The victory of this battle will be determined by the person who wins this fight, but the Sword Palace warriors still trust in their master, and they are sure that he won't do anything against their advantage. Gangik is still trying very hard to take Hajin down, and attacks him, thinking he will never attempt to face him head-on when he swings his illuminating blade. But Hajin unleashed a flurry of attacks the moment he withdrew his sword. Hajin closes the distance between them and fights him head-on, but Gangik uses the skill of Endless Cascade Fist and pushes Hajin away. Gangik observes that Hajin is aware of the fact that his techniques consume a lot of internal energy. However, not only does his opponent have a deep understanding of martial arts, but he also possesses excellent combat instincts. Hajin clearly knows what he has to do to take his opponent down, and Gangik is unable to predict his next movements. They are fighting furiously, while Rissen Jang, who is observing them quietly, orders one of his generals to prepare an escape route just in case they lose the battle. He wishes he could stay and fight along with Hajin, but they have a greater duty to fulfill. A few hours ago, when they were heading toward the Red Serpent House, Hajin asked Rissen Jang to take his warriors and leave immediately if he fell in battle. Rissen Jang refused to do this, but Hajin insisted, saying he had come there at his request, not because the demon cult had sent him. Rissen Jang replied that it didn't matter why he was there, but he couldn't just run away after watching them strike down a fellow demon warrior. It would be the only chance to make them pay for what they had done. He also asked Rissen Jang not to worry about him because he's not foolish enough to challenge someone he couldn't beat. However, he asked him for a promise to retreat when the need arises. At present, Rissen wishes for the third prince's win, otherwise they will be called cowards. Meanwhile, Gangik is struggling against Hajin and thinks he has remarkable growth for someone who isn't even 30 years old yet. He is strong enough to go head-to-head with the second in command at the Sword Palace. He might be slightly more powerful than him, but nothing's set in stone on the battlefield. The longer this fight drags on, the more difficult it becomes to predict who will win. He grabs his sword tightly and exclaims that it's time to end this quickly, and uses a technique named Illuminating Blade Second Form, which is so powerful that it breaks the ground beneath him. Hajin is also shocked to see such a skill since it looks pretty tough for him to handle. Gangik casts a bright cloud, and a huge cloud of QI appears around him. All the warriors try to hide themselves to dodge the attack, while Rissen Jang can also sense an absurd amount of QI waves within the fog. Dongpul calls his young master, but he can't see him behind the fog. Gangik slashes his sword and lands an attack, while Hajin is just staring at him in shock. His formation is so complex that it feels impossible for Hajin to dodge it. After that, an explosion occurs there, and a wave of smoke lifts upward to the sky. When the dust settles, Gangik is surprised to see that Hajin has survived his attack, but he seems to be in a pretty injured state. His hands are bleeding, and he has multiple cuts on his hands and all over his body. Hajin then heals himself by casting a technique, and says his attack was so dangerous that he really thought he was going to die. Rissen is shocked to see that his bleeding has stopped, but he's also aware that it's not due to his techniques. The 7-step soul-shattering toxins are seeping into his body through the overlapping wounds from the attack he just endured, and it won't be long before his blood starts clotting, and he won't be able to keep fighting. Hajin then releases his QI, and his wounds are still bleeding due to the effect of the poison. Gangik is shocked to see that he is using his inner demonic QI to drive the poison out. He shockingly asks him who he actually is, while Hajin says it will be rude to enjoy the poison all by himself, and he should try some of it too. He slashes his sword and throws it toward Gangik, and stands in front of him, handily. Suddenly, Gangik observes that all of his weapons are floating in the air, and he heads toward him with his demonic eyes. Gangik now seems scared of him because Hajin has employed a technique that requires absolute mastery of the blade, the pinnacle of swordsmanship, and he is controlling those swords with his mind. He wonders if he has reached the level of Supreme Demon, but this isn't the time to worry about that, and he wants to kill him before it appears in another form of danger. Suddenly, he feels that his legs are unable to move, and even his sword is not obeying his hands. Hajin calls him and says he won't be able to move, no matter how hard he tries. After that, he uses his technique, named Great Calamity's 4th form, and lands a powerful attack on Gangik. All the warriors around them put their hands on their ears to avoid the scream coming from Hajin's attack. Gangik is also unable to feel anything, and he feels as though time has slowed down. It's a fact that he's not dreaming. Hajin QI is as hot as lava, and an icy QI wrapping around his legs is colder than the icy mountains by the North Sea. The icy and hot mana tightly wraps his legs, and he feels himself a sinner, bound before the ruler of hell, unable to move an inch. Hajin is trying to hold him down, and Gangik knows that he can't react to his next attack. He is still in a state of unconsciousness, and his demonic QI is revolving around him. Gangik tries to provoke him, and suddenly, the wrapping mana breaks, while Hajin doesn't give him the time to react and uses a technique named Sword Decree, and heads all of his swords toward Gangik, who is also rushing toward him. Before he can understand what is happening, Hajin raises his swords and throws them toward him. Gangik is unable to respond, and suddenly, an immense amount of demonic QI gathers around his body, and another explosion occurs there. Dongle calls his young master, who stands furiously like a demon. He calls all of his weapons back to him, and Risen Jang is shocked to see that he is manipulating the QI with his mind, and only unrivaled masters at the Supreme Demon level can do that. Hajin throws his sword again toward Gangik, and another explosion occurs at the place where he was. The swords rise upward and float in the air, while Hain commands them to strike Gangik again. After multiple attacks, the swords fall to the ground, and when the dust settles, there is a big hole in the place. In reality, he achieved enlightenment as a Supreme Demon a long time ago, but his body and his QI couldn't keep up. He doesn't like his worst state and curses his body for not being strong enough. Soon, he is shocked to see Gangik get up after he used such a heavy technique. This is only possible if his QI, martial art techniques, and body were perfectly in sync, allowing him to achieve a state of balance. Hajin thinks Gangik is not alive because his Kai and body have continued to grow stronger, aligning with the knowledge he gained in his previous life, but they are still not balanced yet. Gangik angrily asks him how a weakling like him can have complete mastery of the sword. He jumps toward Hajin to attack, and he knows that if he doesn't react, then he will die from his attack. He immediately picks up his sword and rushes toward him. They both collide with each other, their eyes filled with killing intent, and start fighting in the air. Hajin kicks Gangik's face and pushes him away, but he is more like a monster who is not ready to admit his defeat. He tries to attack Hajin again, saying he deserves to die for resorting to such dirty tricks. Hajin has consumed too much QI to stop his attacks, and he hasn't been this close to death in a long time, so he wonders if he is going to die there. Suddenly, Gangik stabs his knife into Hajin's waist, and he screams in pain. Suddenly, he asks himself what he is doing right now, and he was so consumed by rage that all he could think about was taking Gangik's life. At present, he is just behaving like the people he has been most cautious around and tries to steer clear of. He wonders when his mission matters more than his own safety and survival, and he always thought his life was the most important thing to him. In the meantime, Gangik lands another attack on him and puts a big cut on his chest. He smiles devilishly and says he won't be able to move with all those injuries. Gangik remembers his past life when he was killed and thinks he has just come there to kill the person who stole his prey. Before going unconscious, he calls Goldie and falls to the ground. Goldie immediately appears there, rushing toward his master hurriedly. On the other side, the Penal Law Hall master reaches there with his warriors, and is surprised to see a light coming from the palace. He orders his men to split up and find the third prince immediately. Meanwhile, Goldie's paws and jaws grow bigger and bigger, and he becomes unbeatable for humans. Suddenly, he jumps to the side while the warriors don't understand what the fox is trying to do. Goldie jumps on a roof and screams loudly like a jackal. He releases an ominous QI that affects everyone present there. Their eyes suddenly turn yellow, and it seems like they have lost control of their bodies. They become aggressive, and Donpul doesn't understand what is happening out there. Goldie's QI only affects the Sword Palace's swordsmen, and now they are turning on each other by killing and fighting. Risen Jang immediately orders his warriors to fall back, as they are trying to kill first to determine whether they are encountering a friend or foe. They are so lost that they are not even swinging their sword properly. Donpul comes to Master Risen and asks him if he knows about the situation, as it's clear that it's getting worse. They need to get their warriors out first, and Risen Jang orders everyone to fall back immediately. The Penal Law Hall Master also reached there and was shocked to see the piles of bodies and pools of blood. It seems like he has stepped into hell. There is blood everywhere, and the war is still going on. Suddenly, it starts raining from nowhere, and Gangik calls his warriors and asks them to kill their opponents, not each other. Suddenly, he feels someone behind him, and when he turns his face, he is shocked to see Goldie standing behind him. He wonders if this beast is responsible for everything happening there, and it seems like it doesn't belong in this world. Goldie is a true embodiment of disaster, often mentioned only in myths or legends. He asks Goldie about what creature he is, but Hajin answers him from behind that his name is Goldie, a divine beast that protects the bamboo forest of solitude. He is shocked to see Hajin getting up, with all his demonic QI because he thought he had been dead. He wonders if he just came back to life. Hajin gets up with all his wounds and blood and stands in front of him. Gengik observes his expressions and wonders why he looks so delighted. In the meantime, he observes his body and finds out that his wounds are healing, and soon the scar he gave himself is completely healed. He is sure that if he stays there, he will die for sure. Therefore, he needs to get away as soon as possible. Hajin releases an immense amount of energy and then screams loudly. A tornado of demonic QI appears in front of him, and it is so powerful that Gengik doesn't stand a chance. Hajin grabs his sword and asks if he was disappointed in the techniques he showed him earlier, but now he will reveal his true power. His weapons are floating in the air again, and with them, Hajin also starts flying. After that, he charges toward Gengik to attack, who now seems scared of him. After that, Gengik's screams fill the air, and a huge tornado of QI completely envelops him. Soon, he vanishes into the air, and Hajin is the only one who stays there. Dongpol and Risen are shocked to see the true evaluation of their young master's power. The Penal Law Hall Master is also in a state of shock because he can clearly see that a devil's lotus has bloomed from a blood-soaked swamp on a vast continent. The Penal Law Hall Master and his warriors are in a trance because they are aware that another demon lord has been born on Earth. The Penal Law Hall Master bows before him and greets him with respect from the Hall of Justice. His warriors also bow before him and greet him. Hajin looks at him and, surprisingly, asks what he is doing there. He replies that the leader of the elite warriors sent them, and also apologizes to him for being late. Hajin asks him to stop embarrassing himself and get up. The Penal Law Hall Master asks him if he is okay, and he replies, yes. He observes that all his injuries and bruises have faded, leaving only scars behind, and his regeneration speed is also incredible. It is said that the supreme demons, the pinnacle of the demon cult, harness their innate demonic QI to amplify their healing abilities. Once they reach that state, their bodies undergo a mysterious change. The Penal Law Hall Master congratulates him on becoming a supreme demon, but Hajin says he just got lucky. The Penal Law Hall Master says he is one step closer to his goal of becoming the successor of the demon cult, but Hajin is surprised to hear this because he thought he didn't like him. The Penal Law Hall Master tries to clarify to him that there seems to be a misunderstanding, but Hajin carelessly replies that he doesn't care what he thinks of him. He then turns backward and says Sword Palace forces occupied the House of the Red Serpent, and only one of them survived. He also spared the junior commander, the successor to the Sword Palace, and ordered the Demon Law Hall Master to take him back to the demon cult since he still had business there. He then calls Master Risen and says he is going to a nearby branch to recover, and asks him if he wants to come with him. Master Risen is surprised that he is asking him to accompany him instead of sending him back. The Penal Law Master just observes him quietly and thinks he is an unparalleled genius who reached the supreme demon level in his mid-20s. After that, Hajin leaves with Risen and Dongpol, while the Penal Law Hall Master stays behind, watching him from a distance. Some time later, they reach the Heavenly Demon Cult Yeonju branch, and Hajin stays at an inn while thinking it takes considerable effort to handle the power of advancing to a new level. Still, he was a supreme master in his previous life, so this isn't anything new to him. He just needs to meditate because he ascended via the demonic path this time. At the same time, Dongpol is with Master Risen, and he asks him how long he has been with the young master, and he replies that it's been almost 2 years since they first met. Master Risen is surprised because he thought they had known each other for at least 10 years, given their close bond. He is surprised because Dongpol doesn't look like a bodyguard, and they seem more like two comrades in arms who treat each other like family. Master Risen asks Dongpol to have a spar with him, and says they shouldn't waste the time, and work up a sweat instead of just standing around. Soon, they face each other, and Dongpol starts the spar, saying he welcomes his teachings, and that he has always considered his sea dragon spear to be an incredible weapon. Master Risen also appreciates his sword and asks if it's one of the famous 10 demonic swords. Dongpol is disappointed because he isn't able to draw its true power, and it's nothing more than a tough, sharp blade. Master Risen replies, no matter how amazing the Silent King's sword is, it's still just a blade at the end of the day, whose fundamental purpose is to take lives. All weapons are designed for a specific purpose, and their job is to find the best way to wield them. Dongpol doesn't need to worry about drawing out their hidden strength. Master Risen gives him an example, and asks him if he remembers the sword that the Sword Palace's second-in-command used against the young master in their fight. Dongpol replies yes, and he says that wasn't an extraordinary weapon, nor was it particularly valuable, but was just a regular sword. However, he managed to drive the young master into a corner with it, because he understood its true nature. He shows him his spear and says even the most powerful masters will die if their hearts are pierced, whether by a divine weapon or a tree branch. Dongpol understands what he wants to say, and thinks he was so burdened by that sword's reputation that he failed to realize something so simple. He then swings his sword and charges toward Master Risen, who is ready for his attack. Dongpol gathers his QI and tries to attack him, but he blocks his attack with his spear, and he admits that Dongpol is a worthy warrior. He constantly strives to grow as a martial artist without ever losing sight of his duties as a bodyguard. Master Risen observes that Dongpol possesses something beyond mere ability, which is far more difficult to acquire. After a long time, they go to Hajin and share some drinks. They celebrate his supreme levelship, and Master Risen says it takes too long to explore one's new capabilities after reaching a new level as a demon warrior. Hajin then calls Master Risen and says he will get straight to the point about why he brought him. He offers to join hands with him, which is quite surprising for Master Risen. He stares at him for a while, then says he has just 2 questions, and asks what he will do if he refuses the offer. Hajin is surprised at his question because most people would ask what they would get in return for joining him. But it seems like Master Risen is more curious about the consequences of refusing. Hajin says he will divide his question into 2 scenarios and respond accordingly. If he accepts the offer, he will be asked a lot of him, and the same goes for him. If he needs something, he can ask him. Master Risen asks him if they will only be using each other when they need help. Hajin takes a sip and replies yes, while Master Jang asks him what he will do if he refuses his offer. Hajin replies that they can rest up there, and they go their separate ways. Master Risen is surprised because there can be no middle ground in a power struggle. They can either be an ally or an enemy, but Hajin makes sure that he won't see him as his enemy. Master Risen asks him what he will do if he teamed up with someone else and attacked him, and Hajin replies that he will be his enemy from that moment onward. Master Risen says that if he truly means it, then people will command his honesty, but may also consider him foolish. Hajin pours another glass of drink and says the strength of the 7 houses of the demonic path will be indispensable if he is going to attack the Divine Justice Alliance and the Iron Blood Fort. But this would be forthright but foolish of him to drive one of those houses away. Master Risen is shocked to hear that he wants to attack the Divine Justice Alliance and the Iron Blood Fort, and asks him if he plans to declare war on them. Hajin replies he hasn't considered declaring war on them yet, but he is willing to do whatever it takes if it means he can wipe them out. Hajin asks him what he wants to achieve or what his goal is, or if he wants to expand his house's influence, lead the 7 houses of the demonic path, and live with his head held high. He also asks him if the demon cult decides to go to war, then if he will oppose this decision and go into hiding. Master Risen makes him sure that if war really does break out, his house will lead from the front and vanquish their enemies, but he is shocked to hear when Hajin says there can be no middle ground in a power struggle. He also clarifies to him that he won't lay a finger on the House of Giant Whale if he rejects his offer, but if he joins him, they will no doubt face incredible hardship, and if he refuses, he can rest there and leave. He also hopes that Master Risen understands him and makes it clear that there's no pressure. Master Risen says he has to know what kind of person he is before he can give him a proper answer, and that he wishes to destroy the Divine Justice Alliance and the Iron Blood Fort. Before this, Hajin has to become the successor to the demon cult, and there is no doubt they will see countless bloodshed. Therefore, Hajin has asked the father of the 6th prince, one of the successor candidates, to join him. Master Risen picks up a glass of drink and agrees to serve him because he surely knows his son doesn't have what it takes to become the successor. He doesn't think his son will be able to overcome the 1st or the 2nd prince, let alone the 3rd prince. However, he warns him that if a single drop of his son's blood is spilled so that he can become the successor, then he will do whatever it takes to kill him. Hajin swears upon his life that it won't happen ever again, and they cheer his drink with Master Risen. He then gets up and declares that as the head of the House of the Giant Whale, he swears to serve his new master, the 3rd prince, from now on. Hajin thinks he is actually underplaying his role in his decision by standing up and swearing his loyalty in this difficult situation. Hajin then replies that he is looking forward to working with him. On the other side, at the Heavenly Demon Cult Palace of the Demon God, the Penal Law Hall Master reports to the Demon Lord about everything that happened at the Red Serpent House. He also informs the Demon Lord that the 3rd prince has reached the Supreme Demon level. The Demon Lord was already aware of this, having felt compelled to visit the Pavilion of Demonic Judgment 10 days ago, where it had shown him a vision through their deep connection. The Penal Law Hall Master is surprised to know that he already knew about this. The Demon Lord asks him how long it has been since he joined the demon cult, and he replies that he joined 26 years ago. The Demon Lord then asks him when he will put him in charge of the Hall of Justice, and he replies that it will be 10 years. The Demon Lord then says he dropped by to see the Hall of Justice prison cells some time ago, and the basement had been fortified. The Penal Law Hall Master respectfully replies, this is just one of his insignificant talents. The Demon Lord is impressed by his abilities, and this is what he always likes about him. The Penal Law Hall Master is shocked to hear appreciation from the Demon Lord, and then takes his leave. When he was going, the Demon Lord advised him not to dwell on what he liked. On the other side, Hajin is meditating and has finished reviewing his demonic martial arts. His swords float in the air, and Hajin observes that the 9th great demonic martial art changes completely after he became a supreme demon. Furthermore, the 5 demonic gates have also been reduced to 3, and now he only needs the path of the demonic underworld and the path to the great heavenly demon to reach this point. He has also unlocked a new path, the fearsome roar of the Demon King, the 3rd path of the 9th great demonic martial art. Once he masters this path, he will reach enlightenment for the first time in his life. He just needs to make a little more effort. He goes to a forest and tries his skill for the first time, but it is so powerful that it cuts many bamboos in just one blow. After learning this demonic martial art, the nature of his divine talent has become a lot more ferocious. He could use his divine talent continuously before, but now he doubts that it will work after fighting Gengek. He then moves swiftly through the bamboo, and it seems as though he is moving at the speed of light. Hajin thinks his body needs a moment to catch up, and his movements have slowed down as a result since the new martial art has completely transformed his body. Before this, he could effortlessly use the path between heaven and earth, shadow QI, and divine talent thanks to all the years he spent as an assassin in his previous life. However, this is no longer the case, and it's prompting him to learn something new. The new destructive impulses of his body indicate that his mind and body are finally in sync after discovering what he truly wanted. He stares toward the falling leaves while thinking his mind and body are one, and that he doesn't have any other choice. It's a shame to lose his divine talent and the 9 demonic paths between heaven and earth, but he should let them go for a new start. These paths helped him survive when he was an assassin, but they will only get in his way from now on. It's time for him to say goodbye to his past self and stay with his new body and techniques. After that, he goes to Heavenly Demon Cult, Yeonju Branch, where the head of the House of the Ancient Treasure, Manhwa GM, welcomes him, and also congratulates him for his outstanding achievement. Hajin thanks her by saying he's still got a long way to go, and thinks that she is the only female head of the 7 houses of the demonic path and one of the 10 most influential figures in the whole world. Her visit suggests she wants something from him, especially since the inspection is over. He points toward the girl beside her and asks why she is accompanying that fool, and she replies that she heard that external forces had seized the House of the Red Serpent, so she had to check in on them. She asks Hajin if he plans to rule over the House of the Red Serpent, and he replies that he planned this, but it was burned to the ground by the Sword Palace. Hajin observes that she possesses the smooth tongue of a merchant, adeptly steering the conversation to her advantage. Therefore, he needs to be direct as well. Hajin asks her if he hears the right rumors that the House of the Ancient Treasure has offered to provide support to the House of the Red Serpent. She smiles and exclaims he catches on quick, and points toward the girl saying she believed in her determination to rebuild her house. She is also currently serving as the interim head of this house, but she's too inexperienced to lead such a large organization. Hajin asks her if she is entrusting everything to her, and when Ranua replies with yes, he exclaims that he was going to devour a wounded snake, but he might be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone if he plays his cards right. Meanwhile, outside, Donpul and Master Risen wonder what the head of the Ancient Treasure is doing there after the inspection has ended. Master Risen says she controls one of the most influential houses in the entire martial arts realm, and if he can bring her over to their side, they will be a huge help towards achieving his goal. After some time, when Ranhwa Jiam leaves, Master Risen calls her and asks what she was doing there, and she also addresses him as Master. Hajin gets embarrassed for being called a master. He asks him not to call him master, but Master Risen refuses and says he can't do that. Hajin then tells them that the discussion went smoothly, and though they can't restore the House of the Red Serpent, they have agreed to provide financial support for the next 3 years. During those 3 years, Hajin has agreed to acquire a stake that is worth 1/3 of the House of the Red Serpent. He is disappointed because he wanted complete control of the house, but this is all he could get her to agree to. Master Risen asks him if he is sure that the demon cult will let him do this, and Hajin turns the tables toward him, saying they will probably see him as a bigger threat. Master Risen surprisingly asks why this will happen, and Hajin replies that he has agreed to serve him, and depending on their perspective, this could stir up a huge commotion within the demon cult. Therefore, he included a clause in his agreement with the head of the House of the Ancient Treasure, stating that this partnership will only last until he becomes the successor. This means that all arrangements, including the agreement with the House of the Red Serpent and their agreement, will be terminated if he doesn't become the successor. Master Risen clarifies him that he didn't agree to serve him, thinking that he needed a way out, but Hajin makes him shocked, saying it just means that he will go down with him, and if that doesn't sit right with him, then he has to do his best to help him. However, there is something he needs to do first because he can lay claim to his stake in the House of the Red Serpent. He wants to create an antidote to cure the demon warriors of the House of the Red Serpent, and if he doesn't neutralize the Mind Haze venom, then he won't get anything. Currently, the house is a waste since he can't do anything until he vanishes the effect of the poison, and Hane's only option is to rebuild it before he takes over the house. Master Risen tries to persuade him, saying he should just forget about those warriors, and he will provide them with the other group he needs to expand his power. Hajin refuses and says he doesn't want to involve any more houses or groups on the demonic path, as it's too risky. It's not just a simple question of manpower or funding, it's about the rumors that could spread afterwards. He then stares at Master Risen and exclaims that he has thought of something fun to try out while he is looking for an antidote. He has come there to give Master Risen an order, not just a request, and just says these words that the Guardians of the Sea have rested long enough. The next morning at somewhere between the mountains, one of the leaders of the 5 underground families, Beak Sang, was informed that the Triple Shadow Group, Dusk Village Clan, and the Executor's Sect had all been wiped out. It is revealed that the Executor's Sect is a group of assassins active in the southeast region of the Central Plain, and they used to be a group of ruthless assassins, but there is another reason why they are so well known. The King of Death and one of the most formidable assassins in the southern regions showed up south of the Yangtze River, and the organization that trained him was the Executor's Sect. Beak Song is surprised to learn that they were all annihilated in just one night, and wonders who could have done this. First, he thinks this can be the work of the Beggar Clan. The news is sad for him because the Executioner's Sect took on many of their requests, and there is a high chance that those people will see them as a thorn in their side, now that the Executioner's Sect is gone. He tightly grabs the paper in his hand and angrily says he poured so much money into that group. Suddenly, he gets up and orders a man to bring him a list of all the assassin tribes that took part in the King's Massacre 2 years ago. After some time, when he reads the report, he finds the truth. 2 years ago, the Executor's Sect, the Triple Shadow Group, and the Dusk Village Clan all took part in the Assassin King's Massacre. That was a massacre that occurred while pursuing the Assassin King, one of the 10 Great Masters, Chun Hajin. The allied group of assassins lost close to 700 fighters, while pursuing him day and night for 7 days. This means that the Assassin King killed at least 100 warriors while he was trying to get away from them. It's undeniable evidence of the terrifying power wielded by one of the 10 Great Masters. Now, the tribes involved in the Assassin King's bloodbath have been eliminated, and Beak Song wonders if the Divine Justice Alliance and the Iron Blood Fort are behind this. But he denies his thinking that they can't do this because the influence of the demon cult is too strong in the southern region, and it would be difficult for them to gather a force large enough. He considers the possibility that the assassin king, Chun Hajin, may have returned as a spirit to carry out the killings. Suddenly, a man rushes to his room and informs him about some urgent news. Baek-song is shocked to see the report that the man just gave him. He is shocked and terrified to know that the demon cult was behind all the massacres that happened last night. In the meantime, Hajin appears there and calls them, saying he did all this. He figured the 5 underground families would be involved, and he hoped to find their base hidden in a back alley or a street market. Hajin gives him a smile and exclaims that he has some business with him. Baek's subordinate immediately takes out his sword and asks Hajin who he is, while Baek-song asks him if he has come there from Dashin. Hajin stands in front of him and appreciates him, saying he is quite perceptive. Baek-song asks him his name, and Hajin tells him his new life name, Ryong Seo. Baek-song is surprised at his name since he doesn't know anyone from the demon cult with this name. However, he greets him and introduces himself as Baek-song, the deputy leader of the 5 underground families. Hajin is surprised because the names of the leader of the demon cult students aren't common knowledge in the martial arts realm. Yet, he recognizes him, which is what he expected from the second in command of an organization that, along with the Beggar Clan, holds all the information on the entire martial arts realm. Hajin then calls him and says they aren't close enough to share a drink, so he will just tell him why he is there. He asks him if he is close to the Iron Blood Fort, and he knows they both belong to the Chaos faction. Baek-song seems scared of him, and thinks he can't afford to provoke the Heavenly Demon Cult, and one wrong move can bring down not just him, but their entire clan. Hajin sits on a chair and calms him, saying he hasn't come there to threaten him, and asks him where he can find a senior member of the Sichuan Tang clan who is familiar with poison. Baek-song is still in a state of shock when Hajin throws some money toward him and says this is just a down payment, and there is something much better waiting for him once he completes his request. He gives him 5 days to find a person from the Tang clan, but Baek returns his money, saying he can't accept his offer. He explains that there are a few off-limits groups, and the Sichuan Tang clan is one of them. They have never leaked any information about them. Hajin keeps the money back and disappointingly says he offers him a good amount, while Baek-song is scared because if the Tang clan finds out they sold their information to the demon cult, then it will be the end of them. In some respects, they are known to be even more ruthless than the demon cult. He is more scared when Hajin asks him if he is afraid of the Tang clan, and gets up, saying the Iron Blood Fort hasn't provided them with any protection. Hajin clarifies to him that they don't treat them any better than laborers, and all he needs right now is information. He exclaims that finding information from within the demon cult isn't a problem, but there are many hurdles when operating outside the cult. He extends his hand and promises him to do his best, even if his enemies are beyond what he can handle. Hajin offers Baek-song to join hands with him, but he apologizes and refuses his offer. Hajin gets angry and says he doesn't accept the request, and he also refuses to work together with him. Baek-song respectfully replies that he is not going to lie to a warrior from Dashin just to get out of this situation and asks Hajin for forgiveness. Hajin is impressed by his loyalty, but he still needs information on the Tang clan, and tries to provoke him, saying he has even prepared a gift for him. He just moves his fingers and shows him multiple files, saying he has found a list of all the deals made by the Executioner's Sect. It even contains records of his group as well, and he is not sure why an intelligence unit from the Chaos faction would team up with an assassin organization. He blackmails him, saying he will give this information to the Divine Justice Alliance, as they have quite vivid imaginations. If the information gets out, the Beggar clan might just take it upon themselves to come after his whole group. Baek-song finds himself helpless in front of him, while Hajin calls him and says he now has 4 days instead of 5. Otherwise, this list might end up in the hands of the Divine Justice Alliance. 4 days later, at the Heavenly Demon Cult House of the Red Serpent, Hajin informs Manhwa that he wiped out 3 assassin organizations in the southern region, and also sent requests to the other 3 to block the main route to the Tang clan, and kidnap that person by threatening the 5 underground families. She is shocked to hear this and wonders if he is really one of the leaders of the demon cult students, or if he is just a reckless troublemaker wreaking havoc. She understands that was the only way to complete her request this quickly, but she is worried because he has kidnapped the leader of the Poison Dragon Hall in the Tang clan. Hajin carelessly replies this is even better because someone of his standing ought to know how to concoct the antidote for the Mind Haze venom. Hajin observes that she seems to be worried about the consequences of kidnapping the Tang clan's leader's brother, but she is forgetting something far more important. He also clarifies that the Tang clan is their enemy, and they suffered significant losses because they supplied poison to the Sword Palace, which was also the one that struck them first. The Tang clan also lives by the following motto: repay kindness twofold and punish enemies tenfold. And Hajin looks toward the man and exclaims that he won't rest until his enemies suffer 10 times, or even 20 times more than they did. He stares at him with a killing intent and says they should be tearing their enemy to shreds and feeding them to the dogs, not worrying about the future. Manhwa listens to all this and thinks he is a lot more bloodthirsty than any demon warrior she has ever seen. Suddenly, Hajin slams him to the ground by kicking his head. She calls him and says she has become soft during these peaceful times and forgotten what it truly means to be a demon warrior. She then suggests that Hajin make him talk, and he replies that they will extract the information from him if they have to. She clarifies to him that the Tang clan members are so secretive and are not easy to break, and usually, most torture methods and threats won't get them to talk. Hajin smiles and exclaims they will try something different, and also brags by saying he hasn't encountered a single person he couldn't break. A few hours later, he comes up with a paper for Manhwa on the process for creating the antidote for the Mind Haze venom. He also informs her that he has kept him alive just in case, but this should be genuine. She is shocked to see that he brings the antidote in just a few hours, and it's not just because of his torture skills or intelligence, and he is so composed for a young demon warrior, and it's like she is dealing with an old man disguised as a young man. Meanwhile, Dongpol appears there and informs him that he has cleared off the rust from the demon warrior's weapons, while Ranhwa surprisingly asks him why he did this. Hajin replies that these warriors have been lying down as if the mind haze venom had already taken their lives. Even if they manage to restore their QI, they won't be able to move properly if their bodies remain too stiff. Therefore, wielding those weapons will make them feel better, and also help them regain their previous internal energy more quickly. Ranhwa is surprised by his action, and thinks the young master is so hard to read because sometimes he is tough as nails, and at other times he is kind enough to be mistaken for someone from the Justice faction. She thanks Hajin for dealing with this matter so quickly, and he replies that he did it for the stake he was promised. Otherwise, he wouldn't be bothered. Ranhwa knows this is not the point because he was the one who reminded her about the importance of revenge, and it's been a while since she has learned something valuable from a demon warrior, and not another head of the 7 houses. Hajin asks her not to pay attention to him because he just said what he felt, but Ranhwa starts laughing because she knows he is now getting embarrassed. She asks him why he helped the House of the Red Serpent when he wasn't on good terms with them, and Hajin replies that he didn't help them but used them for his sake. She just smiles at his explanation and says he ended up staying longer than he planned, but he had a lot of fun thanks to her. Hajin asks her to come and visit next time she returns to the demon cult, and he will prepare some high-quality wine for her. She also greets him and assures him that she will visit his home soon. Hajin then takes his leave along with Dongpol, and Ranhwa bows her head out of respect and thinks that from now on, she isn't sure who belongs to the Justice faction and who belongs to the demon faction anymore. On the other side, at the demon cult, everyone is talking about the third prince's arrival, and that in his inspection, he nearly wiped out all the heads of the houses of the demonic path who were rebelling instead of simply putting pressure on them. They are proud of their young master since he proved that the demon cult is something to be feared. However, they feel sorry for the other students of the demon lord, as they will all feel neglected after this. Aside from the first prince, they think there is no one as strong as the third prince. A warrior calls the other and asks them to be careful about what they are saying. They also feel sorry for the second prince and that the demon lord has yet to instruct him to act on his behalf. Meanwhile, the second prince, standing on the other side of the wall, listens to all of their conversation. His bodyguard wants to go and hit the warriors talking about him, but he stops him. He asks him to stay calm because there is no need to get upset over a conversation between fools. He is the heavenly demon cult second prince, Pyongguan. He asks his bodyguard if he is going to hunt down each one who insults him, whether he is the first prince or even the leader of the demon cult himself. He smiles and exclaims that it's not a crime to speak ill of the emperor as long as they do so in private. His bodyguard apologizes to him, saying he got a bit carried away. Pyongguan thinks knowing himself is just as important as knowing his enemy, and this is the reason he waited a year to visit the palace of the demon god. He is not concerned about the third prince and looks toward the palace of the demon god, which is a grand building that feels imposing but also puts someone at ease. He can't think of anywhere more suitable as a residence for a god and lord of all demons. He always finds this building impressive whenever he sees it, and wonders how amazing it will be to live there and take in the whole world. He enters the building and asks the guards to inform the demon lord about his arrival. But one of the guards blocks his way and says no outsiders are permitted to enter the palace of the demon lord today. The second prince surprisingly asks him if there is something wrong, and the guard replies that the leader of the demon cult and the third prince are in a private meeting right now, which is quite shocking for the second prince. In the meantime, the general strategist arrives there in his carriage and finds the second prince standing outside. He observes that the second prince doesn't show off his authority and makes sure people see only his good side, but he is actually very ambitious. He might be the most obsessed with power out of all the disciples of the Demon King, and by looking at him, it seems like the real fight for the succession is beginning soon. On the other side, in the meeting of the Demon Lord and the third prince, he pours fine wine for Hajin in the glass, and also appreciates him for his good work. Hajin takes the glass and also thanks the Demon Lord. Hajin then asks him if his stomach doesn't hurt if he drinks something so strong without any food, but the Demon Lord replies that he doesn't want to disturb the scent of his drinks with food. He asks Hajin if he doesn't enjoy drinking with him, and he immediately replies yes, but is hesitating because he hasn't gotten drunk on it in a while. He tells the Demon Lord that he drinks to get drunk, but no matter how much he drinks lately, he doesn't get drunk, and this is the reason he hasn't drunk in a while. Hajin observes that the Demon Lord appears more like an ordinary human today than at any other time he has seen him, and by staring at him, he thinks that the Demon Lord might be revered as the Demon God, but in the end, he is still a human. Demon Lord puts his glass on the table and asks him about the Sword Palace's Vice Master, and he also asks him why he didn't come back immediately after completing his inspection. He stares at Hajin and asks him to explain everything in detail. Hajin looks backward since his gaze still scares him. After some time, Hajin explains everything to him, and the Demon Lord again gives him some wine, while Hajin wonders if he accepts his explanation or not. But the Demon Lord says he wants to hear the real reason for his stay, not just the situation, and Hajin surely knows that he can't lie to him anymore. He observes that the Demon Lord shares his drinks in a friendly manner, but he also looks down on all of Earth with his demonic eyes. He surely knows that lies won't work on him, and there is no point in hiding the truth. However, he requests the Demon Lord to take a look at his martial arts after this, while the Demon Lord replies he shouldn't need his help, considering it hasn't been long since he reached the ultimate demon realm. Hajin says there are a lot of problems because he tried to fix things, but he had to discard many of his techniques. The Demon Lord replies that it's not much to look over his martial arts, but he doesn't understand why he's asking this of him. Hajin replies that he has a dream, and it's to erase the righteous Heavenly Alliance and the Steel Blood Fortress from this world. The Demon Lord is first surprised to hear about his dream, but then says he wanted to know why he helped the Gyoxa family despite his bad blood with them, and it's best to have a large force to take down the Alliance. He tells Hajin that both groups are the cult's enemy, but he hasn't shown any concern for those two until now. He asks him if something has changed after meeting the first elder of the Alliance, and Hajin straightforwardly replies that he resents them. After some time, the Demon Lord heads toward the outside by saying a small fire can burn an entire mountain. Similarly, a small hatred can grow into something as great as abhorrence. However, he relieved Hajin, saying he won't ask why he hates those organizations this much, but he wouldn't know that what he did with the Poison Dragon Pavilion Master wasn't rash. Hajin disagrees with him, saying the Tang clan played a big role in the downfall of the Gyoxa family, but he gets shocked when the Demon Lord says he already wanted to eliminate the Gyoxa family. He clarifies to him that the Gyoxa family would have caused big issues for the cult later on, and he didn't care about how the Sword Palace planned to take down the Gyoxa family because, to him, results are significant a result where the Gyoxa family is shut down. Hajin calls him and asks if he was using that to pressure the Orthodox Murim, and he replies that if he had done that, it would have been too small a feat because he was going to do more than just pressure them. He was going to bring down at least 3 of the 10 great sects or 5 great clans. Hajin surprisingly says this will definitely lead to a war, but the Demon Lord is at a point where the downfall of a few sects and clans won't start a war, even if it were a lot more. War couldn't be declared. At the same time, the downfall of just one sect or clan can start a war because the point lies in who was brought down, not how many. The Demon Lord states that war won't happen no matter how many people die if they are not the right people, but the death of just one important person can shake up the entire world. If the Sword Palace had killed Hajin as the Inspector General, then that could have led to war. Hajin asks him if this happened because he was his substitute, and he replies yes. This is the reason it's quiet despite the death of the first elder of the righteous Heavenly Alliance, since he wasn't good for anything for a while, so his death had no value. He then turns back to the point and says that Hajin changed his plan by helping out the Gyoxa family. Hajin assures him, saying he will repay him for that. The Demon Lord asks how he can repay him, and he recalls his intention of bringing down 3 clans or sects, which he had promised to do for him. The Demon Lord smiles and asks how he will do this, and Hajin replies that the woman who infiltrated the Gyoxa family is the disciple of the secret demon queen, so she has connections to the Steel Blood Fortress. Furthermore, the Sword Palace's vice master is from the 4 outer wall palaces, and the Poison Dragon Pavilion Master is a part of the righteous Heavenly Alliance. In other words, they have people with influence in those 3 forces at their fingertips. He also repeats the Demon Lord's sentence that the death of the right person can change everything, and he will use these 3 people and the Howl Sect to do something. The Demon Lord looks at him for a while, and then asks him to use the results to show him what he intends to do, since his performance as the Inspector General was excellent, so that he will trust him this once. Hajin wonders if he should be grateful to the Demon Lord for this trust. Suddenly, a sword appears in front of him, and before Hajin understands anything, the Demon Lord reminds him that he asked him to look at his martial arts. Hajin grabs the big sword, and the Demon Lord asks him to use the same methods as before. He asks Hajin to come at him with his full strength. While he thinks about the time when they had a duel, his stance was flawless. However, at this time, he sees so many openings, and he doesn't understand if the Demon Lord is too perfect, or if the fact that openings means he intends to teach him. He is also sure that he can't win against him no matter what, so he should try to attack him properly. He is aware of the fact that there is only a slight difference between perfection and flaws, and he needs to strike as if to kill him in one blow. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord observes that Hajin's style is different, and he has had training duels with the Great 9 demonic elders many times. The results were always the same. Despite the passing of time, they couldn't even attempt an attack, but they ended up kneeling on the ground. They all praised the greatness of God and left while admitting that they weren't good enough. But that wasn't surprising for the Demon Lord because the chain of command is very clear on this side of Murim. However, Hajin is different from all the others and isn't thinking about attacking him, despite knowing that he can't kill him, but is genuinely trying to kill him. After that, Hajin rushes toward him to attack with all his might, and the Demon Lord stays still. He observes that Hajin is weaker than the demonic elders, yet he's attacking him with the full intention of killing him. He clearly knows his conviction must be at least this strong if he hopes to land even a single blow. His aura is also closer to that of demonic martial artists than death, but deep down, he still has the instincts of a grim reaper. The Demon Lord grabs his sword with his bare hand, while Hajin tries to give it his full strength. Due to the immense amount of demonic QI, the Demon Lord's hand starts bleeding. The Demon Lord then moves his second hand and pushes him away. Hajin flies toward the backside and is about to fall, but he holds himself and saves himself from falling. He tries to move, but he can't move his feet and can no longer use the 9 heaven contraction divine steps. Even if he tries to do this, it wouldn't flow as naturally as before. Meanwhile, he is surprised to see the Demon Lord staring at his hand and says he will continue to attack him. But the Demon Lord refuses and says they will try a different approach this time. This time, the Demon Lord will attack, and Hajin has to block him. Hajin is shocked to see that he is distorting space, and now, he is unable to feel wind, the heat, or the sunlight. Suddenly, the space around him becomes dark, and a demonic creature appears, an illusion created by his own demonic energy. The dark wind surrounds Hajin from all around, and the Demon Lord reveals that it is known as the demonic hand of the heavens, and asks him to deflect it. Hajin wonders how he will deflect it when the force is terrifying, and he also feels like all his muscles are going to be shredded. Unlike some martial artists who practice martial arts using the QI they have collected in their energy core, the Demon Lord is using both his own QI and nature's QI to interfere with everything he can see. He is astonished and thinks that before seeing this, he didn't even know such a technique existed in this world. Hajin tries to use 9 depths demonic arts like armor around his body, but his skin is still being ripped. The Demon Lord calls him and asks if he calls his sword the Dragon Blade, and a blade's name is always up to the owner. However, before he took it, it was also called the Dragon-slaying demonic blade, a demon's blade that slays dragons. It is said the founding Demon Lord used the blade to decapitate its original owner, a dragon, when he was establishing the Great Mountains as his domain. The Demon Lord asks him to understand the essence of that sword, but Hajin wonders how he is supposed to do this. He believes that understanding the name of a martial arts technique is the first step toward comprehending it, and the same applies to understanding the names of weapons. With this in mind, he has to learn the actual name of the dragon scale blade. The Demon Lord asks him to reveal the true face of that sword and feel its insanity, and if he understands the sword, he will naturally know how to block his attack. Hajin doesn't know how to do this, as he is not supposed just to pour his demonic energy into the sword. He devised a plan to soften the nature of the demonic energy, so that the blade and the energy could resonate. He resonates with a dragon blade, and suddenly, it turns red with his demonic energy. The Demon Lord is just looking at what he is doing, while Hajin says he doesn't know what the true power of this sword is, but from now on, he will make his own demonic blade. In an instance, all the black demonic energy turns red and surrounds Hajin, and heads toward the Demon Lord. An explosion occurs there, and when the dust settles, the Demon Lord appreciates him, thinking that the demonic hand of the heavens strikes a balance with demonic energy and space to create his own domain. Hajin has done the same, but with the 9-fold demonic arts and a dragon-slaying demonic blade to create an opening in the demonic hand of the heavens, and this is how he has managed to block the attack. Hajin was short of time, but he figured out that an expert martial artist can block sword aura with even a stick. The Demon Lord says the ways to use QI are endless, and if he keeps that in mind, then he will be able to climb higher. He then turns away, saying his lesson for today is finished. The Demon Lord observes that his muscles have changed, and he has good endurance and the perfect build for continuous serial attacks. Hajin replies that his muscles are different now, and he has a build that is good for short but explosive techniques. He can now make up for the lack of endurance with demonic energy, but he is a bit confused at this moment. The Demon Lord asks him if this is the reason he didn't continue his attack, because he believes that after he failed his first attack, the old him would have immediately prepared another attack. The Demon Lord is aware that his feet didn't follow him, and Hajin is surprised that the Demon Lord observed this. The Demon Lord then permits his entry to the Demon Domain Pavilion and allows him to take what he finds fitting. Hajin gets really happy and thinks the Demon Lord is as generous as he can expect from the most powerful person in the world. Soon, he stands outside the Demon Domain Pavilion, the top secret storage of the cult that only those with the Demon Lord's permission can enter. Unlike the other secret storages, this place is filled with scriptures and demonic study texts, and it reminds him of the Shaolin Temple's scripture pavilion, which housed not only secret techniques, but also Buddhist texts. However, there are no Buddhist texts, but only Mara scriptures. He observes that the layout of this place is similar to the scripture pavilion. The place is a lot bigger, but the layout definitely looks the same, and Hajin wonders if there is any relation between the two. However, in fact, the Shaolin Temple worships Buddha, while the heavenly demon divine cult worships the demonic god Mara of the Desire Realm, who interrupted Buddha's enlightenment. Nevertheless, the cult and the Shaolin Temple have been enemies long before the Righteous Heavenly Alliance and the Steel Blood Fortress. He then comes to his senses, realizing this isn't the time for questions like this, as he only has a day there and needs to find something useful within that time. On the other hand, the Demon Lord looks at his scarred hand and thinks about Hajin, who has managed to get through the Demonic Emperor QI. He finds him a mysterious character, and his skill level is a 10, but he always managed to manifest a power of 12. He pours some wine into his cup and thinks there are people like that, and those who can do more than they should be capable of. However, Hajin possesses an ability comparable to that of a regular talent. According to him, Hajin is still not sufficiently qualified to assume the responsibilities of the cult leader. If he can't improve, then he will not become the Demon Lord even if he wins the succession fight. At the same time, Hajin finds a book title, Heavenly Demon Lightning Bolt Fist, a technique with Heavenly Demon in the name. Despite it not being a traditional demonic art, the Heavenly Demon Lightning Bolt Fist was a combination of demonic arts with his ultimate technique, the 81 Thunder Lightning Strikes. It utilizes a significant amount of inner energy, unlike the Heaven Elevation technique, and it's fast, but not intricate, and it's also not focused on serial attacks. However, each strike is heavy and powerful, and it's strong enough that he wouldn't need to follow up with other serial attacks. Hajin thinks that if he mixes this with the explosive Mountain Blast, then it might be pretty useful. He also remembers the Demon Lord offered him a new footwork technique to learn, which is called the Best of the Demonic Martial Arts. Hajin then takes out another book, which is the Demon Emperor's Sovereign Steps. On the other side, the General Strategist comes to visit the Demon Lord, and he asks him the reason for coming there. He shows him an entry permit to the Demon Domain Pavilion and asks if he did this. When the Demon Lord replies yes, he curiously says that someone must have done something great, and it was perhaps the Guardian Court Master. But the Demon Lord clarifies his confusion and says it was the third prince who entered the pavilion. He seems very happy to know this, and the Demon Lord asks why he is happy when he messes up with his plan. The General Strategist confidently replies that he has come up with a new plan, and it's better than war. He asks the Demon Lord why he allowed him the Demon Domain Pavilion. As far as he knows, the third prince has already acquired quite a few good techniques. The Demon Lord replies that his techniques were not good enough, and the general strategist thinks the third prince is a fantastic person. Ever since Hajin recovered from his QI blockage, the Demon Lord has started having conversations with people, when he was never this talkative before. The Demon Lord asks him how the special protection target is doing currently under the care of the physician. He has also heard that this guest is quite the troublemaker, and the general strategist replies that he once spoke to them, but didn't feel that way, and it seemed like they had a different reason for being there. On the other side, in the solitary bamboo grove, a white-haired man, sweating all over his body, sits in the garden, wondering how people can endure this much heat there. He puts his hand on a bench, and suddenly everything around him freezes. The snow falling starts in no time, and he feels better now because the temperature has dropped. The same evening, when Manhwa sweeps the floor in Hajin's house, he appears from behind and calls her. She becomes emotional to see her young master after so many days, and Hajin asks her with a smile if she has been doing well all this time. She bows before Hajin and greets him, while he puts his hand affectionately on her head because he thought he would never be able to see her again. He gave her the book because he wanted her to be okay without him, but he never expected to return to this cult again. Suddenly, he observes something on Manhwa's hand, and when he touches her nerves, he can feel quite a bit of inner energy. She tells him she has been studying for 4 hours twice a day every day. Hajin is surprised at things that QI accumulation refers to the collection of QI as the term suggests, and is not something she can do in a short time. Therefore, when training QI, consistency is the key. However, circulating and accumulating QI for 8 hours a day requires a lot of concentration and patience. He is really proud of Manhwa since she is so consistent at the beginning, and she gets happy at his appreciation. Suddenly, she remembers Goldie is missing, and asks him if he is hiding in his top. Hajin thinks Goldie is so big that he might fit in his mouth, but Manhwa doesn't know yet that Goldie has grown. Hajin then asks her not to worry about Goldie, and he will return when he wants to. Since they are sharing QI, Goldie can find him anytime. After some time, Donpal also returns home and informs Hajin that the special guarding target wishes to see him, but Hajin hears about them for the first time. He asks him what value this person has to the cult, and Donpal replies that someone referred to as the special guarding target is the first priority of the Guardian Court, and that makes them an important guest to the cult. Therefore, the inner pavilion of the Guardian Court's expert martial artists is sometimes assigned to guard them, which refers to the hidden expert martial artists of the Guardian Court. It's not just the former guardians in there, but also the former demonic elders and the demon generals. Hajin surprisingly asks him if the former experts spend their later years at the inner pavilion instead of just retiring, and wonders where this kind of loyalty comes from. He also observes that Donpal looks so happy, which means he is so proud to talk about the inner pavilion. He then gets up, saying he doesn't care about anyone, and they can come to his door if they really wish to see him. Donpal refuses and says they can't leave their residence, and Hajin doesn't understand why he said this. He replies that when a special guarding target is brought to the cult, they confine it to their quarters to prevent mishaps. But Hajin still refuses to meet them, and Donpal calmly replies he will forward his answer to them. Then Hajin asks him to concentrate on the food. Furthermore, they are currently staying at the solitary bamboo grove. On the other side, the former Guardian Court's first leader, Yang brings a huge chicken from the bamboo for his special guest, and asks him if he is suited to the environment. He tells him that the chickens are nothing compared to the earlier days, since they are no longer acting in groups. The boy hears that Yang has lived there for a while, too, and he replies that it was just his job for about 7 to 8 years. The boy is amazed to hear this because he has heard that most expert martial artists can't last there for even a few months. Yang tells him that today's dinner will be chicken soup, and he is surprised to learn that they are going to eat a huge chicken. After that, he makes a soup for himself and offers it to the boy, who finds it smell weird. Yang tastes the soup and asks him to taste it too. The boy really likes it since it's his first time eating like this. He thanks Yang for the delicious meal and asks him about the request he had him make before. Yang replies that he hasn't received any response from the third young lord since he just got back to the cult, so he must be busy. The white-haired boy is worried that the third young lord may find his request a bit rude, but he just wants to see him in person. He wonders if the rumors about him are true, that he is worth gambling on. He wanted to meet the cult's leader originally, but he changed his mind on his way there because meeting him alone would have been nearly impossible anyway. But upon hearing what the third young lord had been doing, he changed his mind too, and now he is the most popular successor candidate. Yang calls him and asks why he wants to see him so badly, and he calmly replies he doesn't have any special reason, but